I see my name in shining lights. Yeah, a different city every night. Oh, I swear the world better prepare for when I'm a billionaire.
It's time to get down to business on the weekend's #1 business program. Known as the King of Networking, your host, Shalom Klein, has worked with thousands of entrepreneurs and created countless jobs. So, to success. Let's get down to business.
And indeed, we are all about small business jobs and entrepreneurship and business. We talk a lot about business here. You're on with Get Down to Business, and I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download podcasts from Get Down to Business on my website at shalomklein.com. And while you are there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein. It's going to be a jam-packed week of content and information you will not want to miss. So let's jump right in. Later on in the program, I'm going to talk about some of the tips about working remotely. But on that note, I'm super excited to have our first guest, Susan Sykes, who together with co-author David Hyatt wrote the bestseller, Yes, You Can Take a Day Off, Escape the 9 Traps of Growing Your Small Business. So Susan, I know you and David have each owned a small business, and it's a pleasure always to feature entrepreneurs on the program. Welcome to Get Down to Business.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to being here today.
Absolutely. So I love to get to know the person behind the microphone. Again, an entrepreneur. I know that you've lived and breathed this experience of keeping work and home life in balance. So tell us a little bit of your background and how it led to writing this book.
So thanks for asking me. That's a great question. I actually started out many years ago in the technology space, and I think I've been a budding entrepreneur since I was born, actually. So I was always, the lemonade stand kind of kid. But then in the technology space, in the company that I worked with, I either was starting new divisions all the time and helping to grow new divisions, or helping to grow new markets within that company. Eventually, I left there, started my own technology reseller company, and then from there ended up at Sandler. So I've done an entrepreneurial thing for a while.
Absolutely. And I know we're not going to share all of the secrets of the book, but you provide a pretty honest look at the realities of running a business. So again, with that hat in mind, Susan, what was that one aha moment, or maybe there were many, when you were running a business, of either the greatest joys, but also, frankly, the most challenging days that you can share with our listeners?
So I think that's another really awesome question, because it is a journey, right? So I don't know that you could really say there's one super aha moment that changed everything for me. I've had successes and failures along the way, just like everyone else. But if we think about running a business and some of the challenges that you face, most people start a business because they're super good at something, right? Like it could be they're a great accountant, or maybe they're a great plumber, but they start a business because they're really good at something. But it rarely ever is about, I'm really good at running a business. And so we have to figure out how do we navigate those waters of things like creating my own leadership plan so that people around me know how to make decisions when I'm not there, and they know how I would make a decision. And how do I prevent those kinds of bottlenecks that prevent me from being able to take a day off because I'm the only one that can do what I can do, right? And then there's the struggles of cash flow, peaks and valleys of, hey, I got really busy doing the work that I love and I forgot to go out and grow my business, right? Or it just became lower on the priority. I knew I should do it, but it just got low on the priority list. So those are all things that challenge leaders. Another big challenge I see sometimes is just we call it the conundrum between sales and marketing in our business, and not really knowing the difference between when I'm in a marketing conversation and when I'm in a sales conversation. So these are things that you don't necessarily learn in business school, but in real life, they can be a big ouch, right?
Oh, yeah. And I talk about that sales and marketing conundrum quite a bit. Again, the book is called Yes, You Can Take a Day Off, but it follows by Escape the 9 Traps of Growing Your Small Business. 9 is that I'm not sure we're going to have time to talk about all 9, but I know that they generally speaking fall into 3 categories, which left unchecked can lead to burnout. So Susan, tell us a little bit about what you've discovered of what those categories are, and frankly, how our listeners can avoid it in the week ahead.
Sure. So they do fall into 3 major categories. The first category we identify is called the passion killer. And that's when the business owner is just so busy doing everything that they hit this burnout phase, right? It's just not sustainable. They started their business super excited, and then they get to a point where they lose a little bit of direction. Maybe their vision isn't clear. Maybe their own personal leadership isn't clear. So we want to fight that passion, that trap. The second trap that we talk about is really what we would call the communication killer traps. And those are traps where we don't really, sometimes we're plagued by persistent problems in communicating with employees or vendors and finding ourselves, always going back. And if you're in the construction world, the word change order might mean a lot to you, right? So we're always having to make changes and adjustments. We really haven't learned how to be an effective communicator, whether that's internal, like one-to-one communications, or to the marketplace. And then the last trap we identify is really, we call these revenue killers. And these are beliefs that just don't line up with the way that we need to go about generating revenue. One most common one that I hear is, I'm not a natural born salesperson. I started my business because I'm really good, you fill in the blank, but I'm not really good at sales. And we have to kind of learn to adjust that belief and understand that, hey, as a business owner, whatever size business we choose to have is okay. But we will always be the number one salesperson, whether that's we have a team of salespeople working for us, or we're a solopreneur. Either way, we have to overcome some of those traps.
Absolutely. And you said the word, big business, and no doubt our listeners are, again, nodding their heads vigorously on many of the points that you just mentioned, which are so important. And passion is just resonates incredibly with me. And again, having a vision, mission, and values for every organization, regardless of size, is so important. But Susan, I know you've had a lot of experience again in the technology space. You're co-author, certainly as well in the franchise world as well. So, are these tips, or these categories of things to watch out for, is it applicable really to any size organization and any industry, regardless of who might be tuning into this program?
Great question. Yes, we really tried to write this book in a manner that if you were somebody thinking about starting a business, you could begin by laying out a plan on, okay, here's some trouble I want to stay out of. Or if you're in a large business, these are also things that you can think about, whether you think about it from a departmental perspective or from my overall perspective of running my business. Because what I believe personally is that everything generates from the leader. So the leader first has to identify his or her own directions, their own passion, their personal passion. And those things then drive the company's personal passion, the company's passion. And then that connects. So whether you're running a small business or a large business, that definitely is a connection that most people need to make. Here's what I know is people will always work harder for their goals than they will for yours. So you need to be very clear about what your goals are, and then help your people to connect those goals to their goals to the company goals. Well, if you haven't identified what yours are, it's really hard for you to take that next step.
That's such great advice. And again, I'm chatting with the co-author of the book, Yes, You Can Take a Day Off, Escape the 9 Traps of Growing Your Small Business. We're approaching the end of our time here. And I'm curious, obviously we're having this conversation in September of 2021. And when did this process start of writing this book? Was it true pre-COVID and things evolved in this COVID world, or how did the timing of writing this book develop?
So we actually started writing the book, I want to say right as COVID began. So it wasn't like a reaction to COVID that we began writing this book. The inspiration from the book actually came from one of our internal people here in our world that said, she's a contractor for us. And she said, you know what, I just somehow struggle as an entrepreneur to keep a good work-life balance. And so that's where it really came from. And then of course, COVID hit, and we found that more and more entrepreneurs were struggling. It was just exponential.
Sure. So it's a great book, and I want to encourage our listeners to pick up a copy. Susan Sykes, how can people find out more about you and find a copy of the book?
So the book is available on Amazon.com, or they can go to Sandler/take a day off, Sandler.com/take a day off. So that's where they'll find it. They can order it there.
Absolutely. It's a great read. Again, 9 traps that fall into 3 categories. And I'm personally biased on that: passion, vision, mission, values. So important. Susan Sykes, thank you so much for joining us. We are going to squeeze in a quick break, more small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship when we return. And I'll be sharing some tips on how you can work remotely later on in the program. So don't touch that dial. You're listening to Get Down to Business. We'll be right back.